The San Francisco 49ers go out and they make a trade for a defensive end. The 49ers general manager, John Lynch, goes out, gets it done, and they go out and trade for former second-round draft pick from the Patriots, Keion White, out of Georgia Tech. He was a guy that actually had a lot of pre-draft buzz, a lot of pre-draft hype. Hasn't really panned out with the Patriots, but I think there's a good reason to why that is. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about how this is a good fit for the San Francisco 49ers and why it is kind of similar to the Charles Omenihu trade. So we're going to talk about it all right now, but you already know what to do. It's been a while. I don't know if you guys remember how to do this, but you drop an SDS in the chat for the Sourdough Squad. Let's get into it all right now. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see it. Would you look at that? It's good to see the SDS piling in here. Shout out to the Sourdough Squad. Man, I know it's been a while. No, I haven't been on live in quite some time. But when the San Francisco 49ers go out and they make a trade, yeah, we're going to come on here. We're going to get on live, and we are going to talk about it. So, as you already know, the San Francisco 49ers go out and they make a move. It was obviously something that we've been talking about for a while, for the simple fact of, listen, I think as it stands at one point today, the San Francisco 49ers had 3 healthy defensive ends. It was Michael Williams and 2 other guys. Everyone else was pretty much hurt. And yeah, dude, it was crazy because we saw that the Panthers, they had signed Travis Gibson off the San Francisco 49ers practice squad. And that was kind of a surprise, not because Travis Gibson was, the best thing since sliced bread, is because the 49ers are already super thin with the injuries to Nick Bosa, Bryce Huff, Sam O got banged up. You need bodies. Yetur Gross-Matos doesn't seem like he'll be coming back anytime soon. So it was crazy. So was wondering, what are the 49ers going to do? And the San Francisco 49ers go out and they make a trade, and they go and get Keon White from the Patriots. And so I think this is a good move. And let me explain why it's a good move. Because you give up relatively nothing. He is an older player. He is someone who I believe, from the draft prep that I had done on Keion White out of Georgia Tech, who came from Old Dominion. He was a player that was late to football, had a ton of athletic upside, 6'5", 285 pounds, strong, fast, just raw. And that was the scouting report on Keion White coming out of Georgia Tech. But there was a lot of optimism about what he could potentially be. And, he had some success last year with the Patriots. He had 5 sacks. He had a good amount of pass deflections. He had 16 quarterback hits. But that was already, I believe, a second coaching change. And then this year, his third coaching change to Mike Vrabel. So when you look at why he wasn't successful with the New England Patriots, I think you can point to the fact that, when there's so much change of scenery, scheme changes, coaching changes at the top, there's not a buy-in to the players like there was if that, regime was still in place, still coaching, still a part of the Patriots. If I'm not mistaken, I think he was drafted by Bill Belichick. Because he was drafted in 2023. I'd have to double check that. But still, it just didn't work out. It didn't fit. It wasn't a good fit for what Vrabel was looking for in their scheme or whatever. And they decided to move on. So that is the move. And so I do believe that the fact that the 49ers gave up a 6th round pick, they also get a pick in return. So they get a 7th round pick and Keon White. I think that's a pretty solid move for a former 2nd round draft pick in 2023. He's a guy, again, I mocked him to the San Francisco 49ers. Let's see. Yeah, way back in the day. So in this particular mock, I got him way later than he actually went. But when you can see from my little write-up right here, I said probably a pipe dream to think that he falls here, but was available, so I took him. A somewhat raw prospect that has tons of power, can play inside out as a pass rusher, and is great in the run game. So who does that sound like? It sounds like someone that we have heard of before. And here you see, shout out to Alex Tran of Niners Nation for pulling this one. If you watch the first clip, it's Keon White, just absolutely dominating. Aaron Banks, this was last year, and drilling Brock Purdy. So you love to see it. But when you look at Keon, it's like I don't look at Keon White as a pure pass rusher. He doesn't strike me as a guy that you're just going to line up on the edge and just rush with pure speed. He's a guy who, like I said, when I took him in my mock draft, he's inside out. And if you guys have been following along, I came up with a name for that position. I call it the dog role, the role that Michael Williams plays. So he offers the ability to play two positions. He can rush from the interior. He can rush from the edge. He can edge set. He's got good strength. You can see him as he plows through. And so those are the things that you like to see from him. And his athleticism versus guards is a plus trait, as you can see how quickly he can win on the interior. So he is an edge, but he's an edge that can play inside and create a lot of havoc that way. So it'll be interesting to see how the 49ers unleash him and Michael Williams together. But I'm looking forward to it. I think that for the trade that it is, the value that they got, I think it makes a lot of sense. And again, he reminds me of Charles Omenihu. And this is a little side-by-side comparison that David Lombardi threw together. You can see Keon White on the left and his relative athletic score with Charles Omenihu on the right. This is both when they came out of the draft. Pretty similar in regards to their athletic score. And so, hey, I don't mind this one at all. So someone asked, when is his contract over? So if he is currently in his third season, He would have this year and one more year. So he technically can grow into this system a little bit. So this also gives the 49ers the flexibility to develop him not only for this year, but for next year. So, I had talked about this concept. Um, I had made a video specifically about this. I had targeted Miles Murphy, but it was the same concept. It maybe wasn't the same player, but it was who was a potential high draft pick, first, second rounder, who maybe isn't panning out with their current team, kind of in the back end of their contract, looking for a change of scenery, and the team is willing just to move off of them to recoup something in return. And that's exactly what John Lynch went and did. And so to me, I think this was a good move. For what it is. I'm not sitting here saying that Keon White is going to come in and be a 15 sack a season type of player, but you need someone. You need at this point healthy bodies to come in and fill in on that defensive line. And he can play two positions. He can play edge. He can play interior defensive tackle, and fits a need, fits a role. And I think Chris Kosurik can really kind of squeeze some potential magic out of him, very similar to what we saw with Charles Omenihu when the 49ers traded a 5th-round pick for him. I think that was either the 2022 or 2023 season. So, Arden Key, Charles Omenihu, Michael Williams, and now Keion White. Yetur Gross-Matos also fits into that mold of these kind of hybrid defensive ends, guys who can set the edge on the outside, can also rush the passer on the interior. So it'll be really interesting to see how he fits and what that mold looks like with the 49ers. But overall, if I had to give it an instant grade, I probably have to give this. I mean, probably have to give it like an A, because it hits all those different criterias of low risk, high reward, very little draft capital given up, a literal pick swap, and you get the player. You have the player under a rookie contract for one more season, and obviously fits the biggest need on the 49ers roster. That's, I think, what contributes to it being an A. It's not an A because it's a home run, because it's Trey Hendrickson, Kayvon Thibodeau, Brian Burns. It's not an A because it's a premier pass rusher. It's an A for what it is. It's an A for the context of this trade. And I think it's a worthy one. He has there's upside here. There's untapped potential. There's raw ability here. And who knows, you get him into the right system, change of scenery. Who knows what a player like this could turn into. So I will say he is kind of a raw player. Has some growing to do, still has some learning to do within the 49er system. And I'm not saying he's going to be an impact right away, but I think this guy could absolutely be a rotational player, not only this season, but next season. So curious to know what would you guys grade it? If you're watching in the chat, what would you grade this trade if you had to give an instant grade? J10 throwing an A out for the trade of Keon White. Again, 2026 6th-round pick exchanged for a 2026 7th and former second-round draft pick Keon White. Hard to be upset at that type of trade. Again, it's not a but it's not a sexy trade, but it's a quality depth trade that the 49ers desperately needed. So I think it's a solid move for sure. And again, you don't lose a draft pick. You just shift a 6th to a 7th. So you're still maintaining the draft capital. You're just shifting a pick, and all of that. I've seen this a lot. I've gotten a lot of DMs about this, about doing the film breakdowns. I'm going to do my best to try to get back to them. I've been juggling a lot of balls out here, doing a lot of different things. So I'm going to do my best to be able to try to get to some film. I've definitely gotten away from it a little bit. Actually, I think this is my first live, I think in like 2 weeks, to be honest with you. But it felt appropriate to get back on and do a stream. As you can tell, I'm a little bit it's been a while. I'm not checking my pauses. But yeah, no, I appreciate it, man. It's great to see. It was cool seeing the SCS back in the chat. Cool seeing some familiar profile pics, all that good stuff. He said, "Yeah, Brad, what happened to your 1 hour daily videos? You're making me miss you like an ex, man." Love it, man. Oh, dang, that's crazy. But I appreciate that support, man. Having anxiety, not being able to watch after work. Yeah, I need to get back to it. But obviously, with how the 49ers are going, it would be phenomenal for them to potentially make another trade. Potentially, I don't. So I'm curious to know what you guys think here. Do you think the 49ers should keep going? Do you think that we should, or the 49ers should continue to explore additional trades and should keep looking? I'm curious because I'd asked this question earlier in the week, and I got a lot of interesting feedback. A lot of people said sell, which I was kind of surprised about. Other people said don't make any moves. And then, of course, other people said buy. So it's kind of been all over the place. Appreciate that, brother. Appreciate everyone in the chat. Appreciate all the SDS, man. You guys are the best. Miss vibing with y'all. But this is an interesting one. This, man, it's just crazy to see how things turn so quickly. Jauan Jennings at one point, fan favorite, was a guy that probably was unanimously loved by the 49er fan base. But man, it has taken a turn. And it's an interesting situation with Jauan because he had the opportunity to be with the San Francisco 49ers for 3 more seasons. And he turned that down. So he opted to be a free agent at the end of the year. You know, he turned down 3-year deal worth up to $16 million per year on average. And I think that rubbed a lot of 49er fans the wrong way. And obviously he's been injured, and he also hasn't been performing like the Jauan that we're used to seeing. So I think a lot of fans have kind of gotten to that point where I don't know. I'll ask you guys in the chat. Do you guys think that the 49ers should trade Jauan Jennings? I think, there was a point where I had talked about this. I would mention that I think the max that I wanted to pay Jauan Jennings was about $15 million per year. So the fact that he turned down upwards of 16, kind of crazy to me. But that's his decision, that he believes he's worth more. Hold on a second. Oh, that's a little better. So I think, unfortunately, if you're John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan, I think you gotta do it. I think you gotta pick up the phone, and you gotta see who wants JJ. And honestly, I don't know if he would go for a lot. I think the 49ers would be lucky to get like a 4th or 5th round pick, because he isn't under contract. He would effectively be a rental for any team that goes and gets him. So with Jauan, I don't know if you would actually want to trade Jauan for a pick. You'd probably want to trade Jauan for a player who's kind of in a similar situation. So someone who kind of a similar situation isn't going to get paid by the team at the end of the year. Maybe could look for a little bit of a change of scenery. I've seen this one a lot. I don't think the Giants are trading for Burns. Burns is having a phenomenal year. Shocker, right? As the leader of the Brian Burns hive, not surprised at all that he's leading the NFL in sacks. He's on pace for, I think, 21, 22 sacks on the year. I don't think Brian Burns is getting traded. He's a franchise piece. I think the Panthers are crazy for trading him in the first place. But it does seem like Kayvon Thibodeau, because when you draft Abdul Carter and you also have Burns, that makes Kayvon expendable. And so that to me seems like that could make sense. Like if you were to go JJ for Kayvon Thibodeau, but I'm assuming those conversations have already happened. The other thing that's interesting too, that maybe you want to keep in mind, is maybe the 49ers go out and they make this move to kind of, show other teams that, maybe I would say Keon White was probably kind of lower on their priority list, and there's still some targets that they wouldn't mind having. The fact that they go out and they grab someone and they don't potentially look, as desperate when you only have 3 available defensive ends, maybe that is potentially part of it as well. If the 49ers sign Cleveland Ferrell, which I do believe they should, That adds more healthy bodies to the edge. I thought Cleveland Ferrell played really well for the 49ers in 2023 when he was, setting the edge. He wasn't, a high-end pass rusher or anything, but he was good against the run. And the 49ers really did suffer a little bit when they lost him. So you sign Cleveland Ferrell, you trade for Keion White, and you look to see what else you can add. I think one or two more trades, and yeah, the 49ers are typically buyers. When it comes to selling, they really don't trade off a lot of guys, but it'll be interesting if they trade off someone like Jauan, who does have value. He's a little older, but again, him not being under contract right now, he does have a very manageable contract to trade. But I do think he would be an option that you could move without, to be able to get something else in return without giving up just draft picks. So I think what is happening right now is that there's a bit of like a stall at the top. Is all these teams are trying and waiting to basically see who the first domino is that's going to fall, and then I think it's going to be like a D. I think they're just kind of trying to gauge value because you want to see the most high-priced person go, so it kind of sets the market for everyone else. So I kind of feel like they're just waiting. They're just kind of waiting. I've seen this. I haven't seen anything definitive. So until anything definitive comes out, but yeah, I do completely expect the 49ers to sign Cleveland Ferrell. I mean, they should. But we'll find out. But yeah, nothing official on Ferrell to the practice squad. So when that comes out officially, I'll let you guys know. But nothing official right now. But I do expect that to be the move that goes down. So this is an interesting one. Miami needs wide receiver help. Obviously, Mike McDaniel has familiarity with Jauan Jennings. I just don't know if they're looking to buy a rental player, if that makes sense. I know they did win this last week, so that was probably big for morale. I just don't know. If they're going to try to add pieces. I mean, if you could get your hands on a Bradley Chubb, a Jordan Phillips. I was a big Jordan Phillips fan of his coming out. His only issue has been injury history. So yeah. But there's familiarity there. So maybe that could be an option. Doesn't this team need better safety help? Yeah, I do think the 49ers need better safety play. It's hard to be super critical of Malik Mustafa, considering the fact that he got thrown into the mix mid-season, had no off season, no OTAs, nothing. He was rehabbing his ACL, and has gotten thrown into the mix. So I totally expect a acclimation period for Malik Mustafa. So I'm going to take it a little easy on him. I don't think he's been perfect. I definitely think he's made some mistakes. But I also think you got to give him a little bit of leeway, considering the fact that he's just had no offseason. So, and being thrown in to the mix in the middle of the year, I do think that's definitely something to take into consideration. But Jair Brown, I think he's more of a box safety. He's he seems like he's a liability in coverage. Marquise Siegel, I think, has upside, but again, he's a rookie, so he's going to make rookie mistakes. And, the 49ers just, I think, are in a spot where I think when you had your Nick Bosa's and I think you had your Fred Warner's, it was a lot easier to hide a rookie safety in the back end. But when you're not getting a pass rush, you're not getting good coverage from your linebackers, it really puts a lot of emphasis on your safeties. And I do think that is also part of like the double-edged sword. It's like, man, the best aid for your back end coverage is a good pass rush. And if you don't have a good pass rush, it is really hard and really challenging to cover for 5 seconds. So it's just one of those things, man. It's like we have no rush right now. We have no, our coverage in the middle isn't great. I think Tatum Bethune is a really good downhill thumper. I mean, it was clearly apparent in training camp. He's just not the same linebacker in coverage, as someone else. So yeah, that's where I see it. Could they add a veteran safety? I would have loved if they kept Talanoa Hufanga, but I get it. You can't keep everyone. And, unfortunately, Talanoa Hufanga has been banged up and hurt, so I understand it. But I think that's what the 49ers are missing. I think they're missing Talanoa. They're missing his processing power on the back end. I really do think that, it's probably not a popular opinion, but I do think they miss Talanoa Hufanga more than they want to give, probably want to admit. But again, I get why he had to move on, and you can't keep everyone. So yeah, I get it. There's another comment I saw. Another question. Do we think the 49ers should shut down Brock Purdy for the season? This is a very interesting comment, because I don't necessarily – I personally haven't thought of that. I haven't thought of that as as an option. I don't look at – I mean, the 49ers are currently 5-3. They are thankfully 3-0 in division. After week 10 against the Giants, they play the Rams at home, and then they play the Cardinals week 11. Man, the 49ers could theoretically lose every single game from here on out, but if they beat the Rams, Cardinals, and the Seahawks, I believe, from my understanding, if they sweep the division, they're in. They're in the playoffs. So win the West. I mean, the playoffs are still squarely in the forefront of this team's mind. Yeah, are they banged up? Yeah, are they hurt? Yeah, are they going to be missing pieces? Absolutely. But that doesn't mean you can throw in the towel. And I do think what they have to do, though, is they have to make sure that Brock Purdy is 100% healthy. They cannot put Brock Purdy in if he's injured. They cannot put Brock Purdy in if he's 95%. He's got to be 110%. And I really do think that, what the 49ers are going to have to rely on, and I think George Kittle has kind of alluded to it, and I think kind of where a lot of the frustration was for that game against the Texans, is this offense has to carry this team. The offense has the veterans. The offense has been pretty much the same. They had the least amount of turnover out of any of the three phases. The whole special teams group is new. A lot of new faces on defense now with injuries too. The offense is Kyle Shanahan. Once you get Brock Purdy back, Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, You need Ricky Pearsall back. You need Brandon Ayuk back. You got Jauan Jennings. You got Trent Williams. I mean, you've got continuity up front for the most part. So the 49ers offense honestly should be carrying this team. That's kind of how I saw it to be built this year, is that they were going to go young and retool on defense, and they pretty much kept the offense the same for that continuity to be able to have the offense carry this team. So it's got to do that. Like, we haven't seen that yet. And unfortunately, when you lose half your starters on offense, that makes it a challenge. So I'm not sitting Brock because Brock is a huge key to that element. Kittle is a huge key to that element. Ricky Pearsall is a huge key to that element. And Brandon Ayuk can come back in any type of form, he can also be a key element to that. So, yeah, I'm not shutting it down. We're not there. We're not there yet. Oh no, we are not. We are not close to shutting it down. Any of that until this team, and we've seen this in the past. I mean, go back to last year's game against the Rams. I think it was a Thursday night football game. I can't remember, but the season had gone to crap, and they were still fighting all the way till the end. Even in that game, as long as they won that game, they would have stayed alive, and they were going. And that's how I expect this team to continue to play, is until this team will not. I would become, if they roll up and they roll over and give up before they are mathematically eliminated, that is when it is time for a regime change, because that means the team has given up. And if they have given up before it is time to give up, then that is a problem. But I don't foresee that happening. I see this team to continue to fight and to continue to get after it. And yeah, that's the way I see it. So it's not been pretty. It's been a lot of adversity, a lot of challenges, and it's not going to get any easier. Unfortunately, Fred Warner and Nick Bosa aren't coming through those doors this season. But it is what it is, man. You can't focus just on that. The season goes on. And the 49ers aren't the only one dealing with injuries. The 49ers are about to go play the New York Giants. They just lost Cam Skattebo to a terrible injury for the season. They've already lost Malik Neighbors. So it is what it is, man. It's the nature of the league right now. Patrick Surtain out 4 to 6 weeks, reigning defensive player of the year. No one's going to shed a tear for you. So you can't feel bad about yourself. You just have to keep pushing forward. And that's why when the 49ers go out and they trade for Keion White, they're pushing forward. They need are they hurt? 100%. Did Travis Gibson just get signed by another team? 100%. So they're pushing forward. They got to keep this ball rolling. You just can't roll over and die. You have to keep going. So, that's why I think there's a lot of parity in the league. And I think that's why you don't shut down Brock. I don't think that's why you shut down anyone, is because this NFL, it's wide open. It is wide open and right on cue. Ben, we're thinking alike. He says the entire NFL is wide open, up for grabs. No super clear best team this year. Colts, maybe. Is it the Colts? Is it the Chiefs? Is it the Bills? Is it the Broncos? Is it the Patriots? No one knows. So that's why, you just keep rolling. You just keep trucking until there's no more gas in the tank. So it is what it is, man. It is what it is. Shout out Mac Jones. He says we're going all in this season. Hope you're ready to bring the same fire. Shout out, Mac. Actually got to meet Mac recently at a private autograph signing, him and Kendrick Bourne. That was actually really fun. It's cool to see those two together. See the vibes. So, yeah. Just got to roll with the punches, man. Just got to roll with the punches. Oh, you're right. It is Jets Cardinals. I'm tripping. But anyways, first live in quite some time. I'm going to try not to be a stranger. I'm going to try to get on here more often. Do me a favor, though. Anywhere you're watching this, hit that like button. Sub if you haven't. Share this if you can. I'd appreciate it. I'm going to try to get on here more often, but we'll see. But it's still great seeing all the familiar faces. Appreciate everyone in the chat. Shout out to the SDS. Feel free to grab some cookies. You guys deserve the cookies. Someone at the beginning of the stream said no cookies. You guys definitely deserve your cookies. I miss all of you guys. I'm going to try to get back here more often. You already know the vibes. But, hey, 49ers making a trade. They're not rolling over yet. They're going to keep pushing forward. So let's get after it. Appreciate all you guys. I'm out of here. Oh, you can't. Boxing fan. See, this guy knows. You throw a super chat at me at the end. You keep me around for a couple more minutes. Look at this guy. He's a veteran in the chat. Trade for another edge or maybe corner. Yeah, trade for another edge. We were just talking about that. If you could package Jauan Jennings and you could go and snag someone like a Keion Thibodeau, yeah, go for it. Do it. See what you can do, baby. Oh, and there you have it. Cleveland Ferrell puts the rumors to rest. F it. We spinning again in that Niner gear. So there you go. Cleveland Ferrell. No confirmation if he has signed to the practice squad. I'm assuming he has. But it does look like Cleveland Ferrell has let the world know he is back in red and gold. So let me know what you guys think about that. I think that's a good move. I think that's the smart move. There you go. Cleveland Ferrell is back in the building. Let's go. You love to see it. There you go. 2 edges on one day. Not bad for missing out. It appears Cleveland Ferrell is back with the 49ers. Eye emojis. Let's go. All right. 2 edges, one day. It's not a bad situation to be in. Like we said, it's not time to roll over. It's time to keep swinging, and that's what John Lynch and the San Francisco 49ers are doing. So you love to see it. I'm out of here for now. Appreciate y'all. I'm going to make a video really quick about this Cleveland Ferrell stuff. Let's get after it. Appreciate y'all. Peace. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see it.